What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Must start and avoid running backs for week 3. I'll be going over every single game in this video, and if you have any further questions, then just look at my rankings at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But let's start things off with Bengals at Bills. The Bills are currently 6-point home favorites, and my model definitely agrees with this one. The big question mark for the Bills is Devin Singletary. He injured his hamstring last week, and he might miss the game on Sunday. If he does, then Gore becomes flex viable. He'll be a favored home running back, and they've already proven that they're willing to use him a good amount, even when Singletary's healthy. If Singletary is active, then I probably wouldn't start either of them. Gore isn't efficient enough to be worth starting if he's not getting the full workload, and then you won't be able to trust Singletary coming off of a hamstring injury. On the Bengals side, Mixon struggled last week coming off of his ankle injury behind a bad offensive line against a much improved 49ers defense. He should have more success this week. The best way to attack the Bills is on the ground, and he should be closer to 100% with the ankle. I know he's been terrible over the first 2 weeks, and he's not a lock and load play by any means, but I have him ranked as the running back 20 right now, and that makes him a low end 2 to maybe a flex play. If you have other options that you feel really good about, then I am okay benching Mixon and playing those guys, but you can still start him as your running back 2 or as your flex. Dolphins at Cowboys is next, and this one's fairly simple. We're not starting any Miami running back until Drake gets traded, and you're starting Zeke in every matchup, especially when he's a 21.5 point home favorite. As for Pollard, there's no way I can rank him as a flex play given the volume he's typically going to get, but they should be able to score around 30, maybe closer to 40 points, and the game is never going to be in question, right? So it's not going to be like they need to play Zeke every single play until late in the fourth when it gets out of hand. This one's going to get out of hand really quickly. So it's entirely possible that Pollard gets more work than he had last week, and so there should be enough touchdowns to go around. There should be enough yards to go around. If you're desperate, you can play him in the flex and hope for a touchdown because he's playing the Dolphins. Next, we have Broncos at Packers, and the reports from the offseason seem to be true. Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay are splitting the backfield work 50-50, and they're equally involved in the passing game. On the season, Lindsay has just 3 more carries and 5 more targets than Freeman, but he's been far less efficient with those touches. And Freeman has actually run 1 more pass route than Lindsay. The equal split really just makes both of them fringe flex plays, especially as road underdogs against a much improved Packers defense. I don't own either of them, but if I did, I'd probably bench them this week. For the Packers, the box score watchers will see the 27 touches for Jones and think that he just dominated the backfield work, but in reality, he was only in on 57% of plays, with Williams playing in 47%. Jones had so many touches because the two of them combined for 39, which is absolutely insane. Jones is still the guy, but it's concerning that he was only in on 57% of the snaps, even in a game where they got up early and they wanted to run it late. Then you have LaFleur coming out this week and saying that he wants the touches to be even more even. I'd still be starting Jones as a low 1, more of a high end 2, but pay attention to how they split the snaps and touches this week, because if these touches start to do the same thing as Freeman and Lindsay, it's really going to hurt the upside of Jones. Next, we have Falcons at Colts, and Devonta Freeman is currently the running back 48 on the season, and I know it's only been 2 weeks, but he only has 2.2 yards per carry, and we entered this season with very real concerns about Dirk Cutter's ability to run the football. I'll give him a slight pass because they played in Minnesota and then against an elite Philly run defense. So he's had 2 of the tougher running back matchups to start the year. This week he does get a much easier matchup with the Colts, But the thing is, they're 1-point road underdogs. My model thinks it should be 5.5-point road underdogs. And if that ends up happening, then the Colts' preferred game plan is to lean on the run game and just drain the clock. So that could turn into a much lower scoring affair than we would like. I do have Freeman as a very low end running back 2 to more of a flex play. So if you want to go elsewhere, then I get it. As for Indy, Marlon Mack did miss practice on Wednesday. I'm recording this before any news has come out about his status on Thursday. But everything I've read indicates that he's expected to play on Sunday. If he's active, you're starting him. If he's inactive, you could start Hines or Wilkins in deeper leagues, with Wilkins being viable in 12-team leagues. But I wouldn't feel great about either of them, even if Mac is out. Ravens at Chiefs now. So this is going to be probably one of the best games of the week, potentially one of the better games this month. The Chiefs opened as 6.5-point favorites at home. They got bet up to 7, then bet down to 6. So Vegas is a little bit confused about how this game's going to play out. My model thinks the spread should be closer to only 2 points for the Chiefs, and it actually thinks that the Ravens win this game more often than not. I still personally would not bet against KC at home, but this makes me think the game's going to be closer than the public thinks. The problem for the running backs is that the game sets up much better through the air. Both teams have a strong run defense, and neither team has a bell cow running back. For the Ravens, Ingram is the lead back, but he's only getting 14 to 15 touches, so he's going to need to break off a long touchdown to be worth starting. I have him ranked as a mid to low end running back too, so you can still use him, but I'd prefer not to. On the Kansas City side, there are just too many unknowns for me to give a take right now. McCoy and Williams are both questionable with injuries. If they both miss, then Darwin Thompson is viable in the flex, and he's someone I'd feel good about starting. If only one of them misses, then we're going to need to see which one's playing, how healthy are they, what are the reports about the split, just so many unknowns that we're going to learn in the coming days, probably on Saturday and Sunday, exactly how they expect this backfield to shape out. So just check Roto World for updates on that. Next, we have Raiders at Vikings. I would not start Josh Jacobs this week. He only played on 42% of snaps last week when they fell behind, and I expect them to fall behind again this week, especially as 9.5-point road underdogs. The Vikings have a great run defense, especially at home, and Jacobs only has one total target through 2 weeks, so you can't trust him in games where they're expected to be down early. Dalvin Cook is a weekly running back 1 regardless of matchup. We loved him this season because he's smashed in every single game that he's been healthy in, and they want to run the football a lot this year. Both of those have been proven to be true, and he is easily a top 5 running back play this week. Next is Jets at Patriots, and this is the worst possible matchup for Le'Veon Bell. He gets his 3rd string quarterback, and he travels to face a New England defense that has given up 3 total points this season. The Jets are going to get crushed this week, which is fairly evident from the 22.5-point spread. You don't see 22.5-point spreads in the National Football League, so don't expect this game to be close. With that being said, you still have to start Bell. However, it's very possible his touches are limited this week to keep him healthy heading into the bye. They're expecting Sam Darnold back in week 5, so they're going to want to try and salvage the season when he returns. They know they can't win this week, and they like Ty Montgomery. So there are reasons to be concerned about the total workload for Le'Veon this week. The thing is, they got crushed last week as well, and he still caught 10 dump-offs. So you basically have to start him. Just know what you're getting yourself into. On the Patriots side, I'd start Sony Michel for the touchdown upside, especially if Mosley remains out, which it looks like he will. He's going to get plenty of chances to score. I just want to remind everyone that we all have the same number of targets on the season as he does. So if he doesn't score, you're going to be sad. I wouldn't start James White or Rex Burkhead. White is best saved for those games where they go pass heavy in close games, high scoring games. This doesn't really set up like one of those. Lions at Eagles is next, and CJ Anderson is finally out of the picture, so things are looking up for Kerryon Johnson owners. Ty Johnson is still there, and he's going to take some passing game work, but KJ's floor is now more secure. He's a decent running back 2 option this week, even as 6.5-point road underdogs. The Eagles have been willing to allow receptions to running backs, and Kerryon Johnson has the talent to break off a few long plays in the matchup. He's not a lock to produce since the Eagles are so good at stopping running back carries, but I'd start him if I owned him. On the Eagles side, Sanders is a fringe flex play this week. He has incredible raw talent, but the Eagles haven't been able to get anything going on the ground this season. He is still losing some snaps to Jordan Howard, to Darren Sproles. Hopefully he looks better this week. Hopefully the run game looks better. But I currently have him as like the running back 27 or so, which makes him viable as a flex, but less than ideal. The next 2 games are fairly simple. We've got Panthers at Cardinals first. Even with Kyle Allen at quarterback, this game has a chance to shoot out with the amount of plays that they're going to run and with the relative lack of defense. But for the running backs, I mean, you're starting McCaffrey and David Johnson every week, regardless of matchup. The next game is Giants at Bucks. Same situation. You're starting Saquon every single week. For the Bucks, this might be an okay matchup, but don't expect the same sort of production that Barber just had last week. I have him as my running back 34. He is a low floor, low upside play, just like the entire backfield is. Next game, Texans at Chargers. For the Texans, this game sets up much better for Duke Johnson than it does Carlos Hyde. The Texans are expected to be playing from behind, and the Chargers give up a lot of receptions to running backs. I would bench Carlos Hyde, and I would start Duke Johnson as a low-end running back 2. For Eckler, same thing as all year. Start him. Justin Jackson, he's been great, but he just doesn't get enough touches to be worth starting outside of deeper leagues. Next, we have Steelers at 49ers. James Conner missed practice Wednesday, so we're going to need to see if he's available to practice today. The current reports seem to indicate he might not practice all week, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. He's come out and said that he's playing. Dr. David Chow seems a bit less optimistic about his chances this week. Ultimately, we're going to get more information on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday morning, and this isn't the NBA. We're actually going to know before the game starts if he's playing or not. If he misses the game, then you can start Samuels in the flex, especially with his receiving skills, even with Rudolph at quarterback, and even playing on the road against an improved 49ers defense. If Connor plays, then it's going to come down to the reports. Are they saying he's going to be limited? Are they saying he's fine? It depends on what news we have on Saturday and on Sunday morning if we're starting him. So we're just going to have to wait and see. On the 49ers side, it's also a tough one to figure out. So Jeff Wilson is apparently their goal line back, their red zone back, which is pretty annoying. Breda is the top option, but he's a top option in a committee, and he's at risk of being pulled when they get close to the end zone. The Steelers also have one of the best run defenses in the league, so I don't love the spot for any of the 49ers running back, even though they're a really good running football team. Breda is fine in the flex, and you could use Mostert in a really deep league if you're desperate, but you better be pretty desperate. Saints at Seahawks is next, and the Breeze injury really hurts the Saints skill position players. Teddy is a massive downgrade. Mark Ingram is a viable flex play when the offense is at full strength, when Drew Brees is at quarterback, but you can't start him without Brees. Kamara takes a big hit, but let's be honest, he's Kamara. You have to start him regardless of who's at quarterback. For Seattle, Carson seems to be losing his grip on the starting job. He lost a fumble in week 1, lost 2 more in week 2, and because of this, and because he was pretty mediocre in his efficiency in both weeks, his snap share went down 22% to just 54% of the offensive snaps last week. He also ran far fewer routes than he did in week 1. It's not like they shifted the entire workload to Penny, but they used Penny a lot more in week 2, and he did have an extremely important 37-yard rushing touchdown. This is absolutely a split to watch going forward. As for this week, Seattle's a 4.5-point home favorite, and I would not be shocked if they win by more than that. You're starting Carson until we see the snaps get more even, and Penny is, I guess, a fringe flex play, but he's someone I'd really want to just wait another week to start, keep him on your bench, see what happens, and go from there next week. But it's a very interesting situation to watch because the top running back in this offense is a very high value position. The Sunday night game is Rams at Browns, and Gurley got up to 19 touches last week after just 15 in week 1. The problem was that all of the targets he had were low upside dump-offs, and the 3 receptions resulted in just 4 yards, and then the 16 carries were just 3.9 yards per carry. He saved his day with a touchdown, but that's becoming a reality for Gurley. If he doesn't score, the volume just is not going to be there. You're still forced to start him as a mid-running back too. And as for Malcolm Brown, I mean, they're still using Gurley as the lead guy, and it's not like they're running the ball 40 times a game. Plus, Brown only has 1 target through 2 weeks, and he's only getting 7 to 10 touches a week. So you definitely want him on your bench because the upside is incredible if something happens to Gurley, but you can't start him unless that happens. On the Browns side, you're always starting Chubb. The final game of the week is Bears at Washington. Just like we predicted, Montgomery has started to take over this backfield. He's never going to have 100% of the work, but he had 18 carries, 3 targets, and 5 green zone carries. The Bears don't look like a good offense right now, mostly due to Trubisky being Trubisky. But Montgomery should be started as a running back 2 moving forward. You're obviously not starting Mike Davis, and I'd bench Cohen as well. He had a lot of targets in week 1 when Miller was still recovering from his ankle injury, but the slot snaps are going to drop now, and so will the targets. So you just can't really start him outside of deeper full PPR leagues. Washington is also an avoid. The Bears are not a team you typically want to target running backs against, especially when each of the running backs is one-dimensional. So that is everything you should need answered at the running back position for week 3. If you have multiple players I listed as starts, then just look at my rankings and that's my answer for which one you should be playing. You can see that along with a bunch of other content and some free articles at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But that's the end of this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? If you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.